Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to build a project management dashboard which covers certain aspects of project management, and it is meant for someone who is managing few projects or they are in charge of a team of project managers. If we look at the dashboard, it's quite simple and straightforward. First, we come to the project board, which gives us the overview of the projects, like the number of projects that we have. Then there are certain tasks, like several tasks within a project. So we've got the number of tasks, the total cost of the project that we have at this point of time when we are extracting this report, and then we have got the total budget. We've got the task completion rate and the budget utilization rate till this point. Then we've got the project by status, so we are dividing these 53 projects into different statuses, and also we are looking at the projects by priority. And then in this box, which we have separated from the other ones, we've got the budget utilization by project type. So we have got different types of projects that we are working on, and we are showing the budget utilization by the project type. At the end, we've got the number of under budget and over budget projects. So we've got these 53 projects. We have divided them according to the budget types, and then we are showing how many projects are within the budget and how many are above the budget. Here we can see the locations with uncompleted tasks. So these are the locations where most of the tasks are in progress or pending, or they have not been started, like they are unfinished. So we can see those tasks by the numbers. And at the end of the dashboard, we've got the project managers, where we also have a nice tooltip once we bring our mouse pointer to a particular project manager. What we see here is how many projects that project manager is handling, how many of them are overdue, what is the task completion rates, that means how successful they are, and the total budget utilization. So it helps us to understand who are the most successful project managers, at the same time who are the project managers who are having a lot of workload, and we can divide the workload if needed. At the same time, we've got this nice tooltip where we can see that for this project manager, there's a budget allocated, budget used by this project manager, budget remaining, and then what projects are having what kind of statuses, like in progress, completed, and overdue. And the same goes for the tasks. On the lower left corner, we can see a card which gives us a few actionable insights, and it tells us what are the most critical actions that we might need to take. Again, this is according to the user. You can have as many critical points as you want to notify the users. Then we move on to the cost analysis. Here we can see that we've got the total cost, total budget, and the total budget remaining. Budget utilization, it's the same chart as the previous one. Here we are looking at the monthly trend of budget versus costs, and it helps us to understand in what months we were over the budget and how are we performing against the budget allocated. Here we have got the budget remaining by project type and locations. Again, we are looking at different metrics. So once we click on this metric, we can see that the cost by project type and locations. So this is the project type and this is the locations. Similarly, the budget that has been allocated and the budget remaining. When we come down, we see the budget allocation and utilization and task completion. Here we've got this table which gives us the details of each and every project according to the tasks. So here we've got the total budget and the total cost, and it tells us the remaining budget on a task basis. So we understand that there might be some tasks which are overutilizing the budget, and we can also see the task completion rate. So all of this is expandable. On the left, again, we've got this nice card which gives us some of the attention points that might be critical for us. Then we've got the project timeline. In project timeline, we've got Gantt chart, which is one of the most important charts for a project manager. It tells us about the delayed projects, about the progress, are the projects or the tasks being completed in time or not. So here we've got the project ID name in case if we want to look at a certain project. Let's say we want to look at project 007. So we can see the project timeline for 007. We can filter by task ID name, the project status in case if you want to see which project has not been started yet, so we can see it here. And then we've got the assigned to in case if I want to see by the project manager. We've got the project manager. This is a nice table which tells us the individual status of each of the project managers, what are their total projects and overdue, and what is their performance. So how many tasks are they handling as of now, or how many tasks have been completed, and so on. So this is what we are going to build. Let's get to the data set now. Let's have a look at the Excel file that we have as our data set. So we've got 2 fact tables, and then we've got several dimension tables, and then a data dictionary. Let's start with the fact table. The first fact table we've got is fact project, which gives us the project ID. It's a unique ID which is linked to the project name. Then we've got the project type. So we've got 6 different types. If we go to the project type, we can see that 6 different project types. We've got the location. Of course, it tells us the location or the state, whatever it is. We've got the start and the planned completion date. And then we've got the actual completion date, which can be different from the planned completion date. We've got the project status, which is also a unique key, dim project status, a priority task ID. One project has several tasks, and every task is defined by a task ID. If we go to the dim task, we can see that there are different tasks like site survey, foundation work, etc. And then we've got task status assigned to, that is the project manager's name, hours spent on each task, budget in dollars, actual cost, and the progress. Now we have to keep in mind that this fact project table, this is the current status of all the projects. That means that this table will keep its structure as it is, and it will always be updated in our database. This database being the Excel file in this case. We've got another table which is called the fact monthly expense. Now fact monthly expense is a table that gives us the report date that is used for our monthly analysis. So how do we read it? Is that the task T006, which belongs to project ID P011, on the 31st of January or in the month of January, its budget was 10,230 and actual cost was 4,770. So we've got here all of the months for the year 2024, and it is telling us what was the monthly budget and the monthly actual cost. All of these details are given in this data dictionary. You can download this file from the location mentioned in the description below. Let's start building the dashboard. So first things first, we have to set a few options for the file. Here we have to go to the current file data load, and we are going to uncheck all of the automatic options. We go to get data, Excel workbook, project management dataset. You're going to select all of the tables, load the data. We load the data. Once the data has been loaded, we go to transform data. We rename the tables, and we also check if all the data types are correct. So this one looks fine. Location, this one looks fine as well. Then we go to this one. Yeah, priority, project name, this is fine. Project type, this is fine. Status, task. In fact, monthly expense, we are going to look at the report date. We're going to convert it to the date. Project ID is fine, task ID is fine, budget. It should be fixed decimal number because it's a currency, and same goes for the actual cost. The other things remain the same. Then we have the fact project. First we rename the table, and then we are going to look at the columns. Again, start date, planned completion, and actual completion date should be date. So we convert this one. Project status, we can keep it as a text, because here if we look at this is also a text. For further clarification, I would say let's call it project status. And then we've got priority, task ID, task status assigned to hours spent, budget, actual cost. They should be fixed decimal numbers, and progress can remain a decimal number. So we have fixed all of the data types. Close and apply. Let's start working with the data, because this is a step-by-step tutorial. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create all of the additional columns and the tables in the query editor. Then I'm going to add any additional columns or measures in the table view and the dashboard respectively, and then we will start building the visuals. So let's get started. What we have to do here is that we've got the project ID and project name. In case if we have to merge these two columns, what we need to do is that we select these two columns, go to add column, merge columns, and then we are going to select a separator. We say custom and then space dash space. We can name the new column, which would be project ID dash name, and OK. Once we have this, then we can see that we've got this nice project ID dash name column. Then we go to the dim task and we can do the same. Task ID, task name, add column, merge columns, separator, custom, space dash space, and then we say task ID dash name. OK, and then we've got the task ID and the name. Now we are going to work on the fact project table. We are going to add certain columns and we are going to add certain tables and then merge those tables in fact project table. So the first column that we are going to add is the end date. End date is going to be the conditional column. And here what we are going to say is that if the actual completion date is null, then select the column as planned completion date. Otherwise, take the value from the actual completion date. So here we have the end date, which is either the actual completion date in case if the task has been finished. If the task is still in progress, then it would be having the planned completion date. Then we are going to sort the rows according to the project ID and the task ID. We select project ID, control task ID, and then we say it should be here, sort ascending, and then we are going to come here and sort ascending. So this is the first one and this is the second one for the ascending. Now we are going to create two project tables. One is going to be the fact project start date and then the fact project completion date or the end date. How we are going to do that? Create a copy or a duplicate of this. We will call it fact project start date. So here we can see in the fact project table everything is arranged according to the tasks. But in case if a project has 4 tasks and the first task was started on some date and then the other task was started on another date, but the whole project as a whole, it was started on the date when the first task was started. So we want to create a column where we want to show that the project was started on this particular date. Okay, so what we're going to do here is that we'll select project ID, right click, group by. We are going to do the grouping by project ID. The new column name would be project start date. Operation, take the minimum, and the column should be the start date. So now we can see that we have grouped by the project ID and we can see the start date of the project and we can sort it. We create another one, fact project let's say end date, and we do the same, right click, group by, project ID, project end date. Operation would be maximum, and column should be the end date, this one. So now we can see the end date. If the project has been finished, it would be the actual completion date. If it has not been finished, even if one task out of several tasks is remaining, it would be called that the project is in progress, and we will put the planned completion date here. Now we will go back to the fact project table. We come to the right, and then we are going to merge the queries, merge queries. So here we have got the project ID, and then we take the project start date that we selected, project ID, and left outer all from the first one, matching from the second. Okay, so then we are going to expand it, only the project start date. And here we have it. The project start date is here in this column. We can call it project start date. This is it. Again, we are going to use merge queries, and we are going to add the project end date with the project ID, this one, left outer. Okay. We expand it. We need only the project end date column, and we've got the project end date column as well. The next thing that we have to understand is if the project is overdue or not. So we are going to add a custom column. So we go there, add column and custom column, project overdue, and if project planned completion date, or we would say if project planned completion date is less than date dot from date time dot local. Now we are comparing it with today's date, then put it as 4, which is the key for the overdue project or the delayed project, else put it as 0. Why are we putting everything as 0? This is just keep it like this, and I will show it to you once we go to the table view. So here we can see that these are the projects that have been overdue. Why? Because the project end date or the planned completion date, it was 20th of December. However, the project is still not complete, as you can see from the progress. That means that these tasks, they are overdue, or the project has been overdue. Whatever logic has is making sense here. Okay, this thing is done, and I think now we can move to the table view and we can see what we have to do there. Close and apply. In the table view, the first thing that we have to do is we have to create the calendar table. So we'll go to new table. I'll copy the code from my file. I'll see that it works, I hope. So we create this calendar table, and let's see, when does it start? It should start on 1st of January 2024. Looks like it is, so this one is fine. Now we move to the fact project table, and before doing that we have to remove the fact project end date and project start date. So we will simply make them hidden. We'll go to fact project table and we will add a few columns there. The first column that we are going to add in fact project table is the budget overrun column, where we say if the actual cost is crossing the budget, the allocated budget, then it's over budget, otherwise it's under budget. So we right click, new column, we write budget overrun equal to if fact underscore project, fact underscore project, the actual cost is greater than the budget, then it's over budget, otherwise it's under budget. Yeah, this gives us the budget overrun column. The next column that we are going to create is the remaining budget, so that would be new column, and it's remaining budget equal to fact project budget minus actual cost. Next, we are going to create the project status calculated. So here we are going to use the project overview column. So that would be new column, and I'll copy the expression. What we are doing here is that we are calculating it in case if the project overview column is 4, then put it as 4. And in case if our data set is telling us that the project status is 4, then it put it as 4. Otherwise, you have to check the conditions like project status equal to 1, 3, 1 or 3. Otherwise, you will simply put the project status, which is 2. So 1 is for the not started, 2 is for in progress, 3 is for finished, and 4 is for overdue. So we calculate this. Next, we are going to build a complete table. That would be a new table, and we will call it fact budget analysis. What we are doing in this table is simply we are summarizing the fact project table according to the project ID, and we are calculating the total budget and the total cost. So once we do this, click enter, and now we can see that the total budget that has been allocated for the whole project 001 is present in summarized form, and then the total cost as well. Before we move on to the next table, a question may arise in your mind that why are we creating this project status calculated? Because we are assuming that the project status calculated, it's taking the... Before we move on to the next table, one question that may arise in your mind is, why are we creating this project status calculated column? So the answer is that project status calculated column is taking the project overdue as one of the possibilities, and project overdue column is being calculated on the basis of today's date. So if there is a status change for a project on a specific date and which is not reflected in our data source, we can do that using this formula. So that's the only reason why we are creating this fact project status column. Next up, we are going to work on the model, and we are going to link the dimension tables with the fact tables. We'll try to arrange them first in the form of a star schema like this, and then we'll bring the fact project and assigned to. Let's start from here, assigned to. Oops, there you go. Key and assigned to. Location, key, location. Priority, key, priority. Project name, project ID with the project ID. We bring some more dimension tables here. Link the project type, which is the key project type. Project status, key with the project status. Task ID with the task ID. And then we've got the task status with the task status. We have these three as well, so let's bring them. We can drag this up. We can bring in monthly expense. We can bring in budget analysis, and we can put the... I think we can put it like this. Yeah, that looks better. Here we are going to link the calendar table with the fact table. So it will have two connections. One would be the project start date, which is date, and the project start date. One to many, yeah. And the other one would be date with the project end date. which is this one. Yeah, date with the project end date. The fact budget analysis would be linked to the fact project using the project ID, and that would be here. Yeah, one to many. Yep. The fact monthly expense table, we are going to link the project ID with the project ID, one to many. Yes. We are going to link the date with the report date, this one. Yes. And then the task ID with the task ID, this one with this one. That's it. We have completed the model now. Now the next step is we are going to move to the dashboard. We are going to set the canvas size, which is when you go to this format your report page, canvas settings, we are going to use the custom, and that is going to be height is 1080 and the width is 1920. So we have plenty of space to work on the dashboard. Then we are going to copy this page 4 times. Yeah, the first one would be the project board. The second one would be cost analysis. Third is project timeline. And the fourth one is project manager. We are going to have 2 more pages for the tooltips, but we'll see that once we reach that point. Next up, we are going to import the theme. I have already set up the theme, so we are going to use that theme, browse for themes, and then I'm going to take the project management dashboard. I've imported this theme. Yes. And as you can see here now, I've got some customized colors that we need to have. The theme file is also available in the folder that is given in the description, so please check it out. Also, we are going to set up the pages, like the page backgrounds, the canvas backgrounds. I have already created those backgrounds. I've shared that in the shared folder, so you can check that out as well. So we are going to take the project board first, transparency 0, and it should be fit. Yeah, cost analysis, fit, transparency 0, project timeline, the main thing is that you need to have the visuals ready, and then you can put the background in the end. But since we are just doing a guided project where we have all of the resources available, so that's why I'm putting the background first. Project manager and fit. The first visual that we are going to build is the KPI, and it's going to be a collection of 4 KPI cards. Okay, for that we have to create 4 different measures. So let's start creating the measures first. We go to enter data, and we are going to create a measures table. So we say measures table and load. We've got new table here, and now we right click new measure. The first KPI that we are going to show is the number of projects that we have, and that is going to be distinct count of project, fact project, project ID, which would be this one. That's the first one. The second one is the number of tasks. So we are going to create the number of tasks measure. But before that, we are going to delete this column so that the measures table is at the top. So here we create new measure, and that is going to be number of tasks. And we are going to count the tasks based on task ID in the fact table, fact project table. That's the number of tasks. Now, the third one is the total budget. Right click, new measure, total budget equal to sum of budget in the fact project. And the fourth one is total cost that is the sum of actual cost in the fact project. That is it. We are going to place two gauges here. One would be the task completion rate and the other one would be the budget utilization. So let's create those two measures as well. Task completion percentage equal to divide sum of progress and divided by the number of tasks, and we close it. That's the first one. And then we have the second one, new measure, total budget utilization, and we are going to divide the total cost by the total budget. Place a 0 just in case. That is it. Total budget utilization, this is going to be a percentage. I'm going to keep it restricted to 1 decimal place. At the same time, task completion percentage is also a percentage, and that is going to be 1% as well. What I would do rather, I would put a percentage sign here and here. That makes more sense. Okay, so we have 6 KPIs ready. Let's place the KPI cards. Let's put the number of projects. Okay, I will have this thing. So the height would be 162. I'm just going by the dimensions that I have already decided and written, so just to make it easier for you, otherwise you can go according to your own settings. So 307 and 134. Yeah, so here we are. And then the effects, no background at all. Visuals, let's bring in the KPIs, number of projects, number of tasks, total cost, and the total budget. And the total cost, it has to be 0, and total budget has to be 0. These are whole numbers, so these are fine. For the total budget, we are going to set this total cost in thousands and total budget in thousands. Yeah, let's arrange the visual. So this is going to be single row, cards, 4 cards, and space between the cards should be 39. Call out values, all of these should be 30. This should be on the right hand side. Space between label, and this should be 20. Then the cards size should be wide. Alignment is in the middle. Background is off. Border is off. There we go. We have the KPIs. Next up, we are going to place 2 gauges on the page in these slots. So the first gauge would be the task completion percentage. Measure would be this task completion percentage, and the properties would be the height would be 130, 300, no, it's going to be 215, and then we are going to put it to 1391 and 166. Again, these are the dimensions that I have already set, but you can make these dimensions according to your own choice. What else do we need to do is to remove the data labels. We have to make this target label disappear as well, and the call out value, that should be Arial. There it is. And we should not be having any background and no title at all. That's the first one. Then we copy and paste it. This is going to be the second one, not the task completion percentage, but the budget utilization. Again, the dimensions would be 130, 216, 1658, and 166. Yeah, that is it. So we've got these two. Now we'll place the labels, and the labels would be the text boxes. So we bring in a text box here, and we are going to type task completion. This would be 12. This properties, it would be 41. Width should be 231. Horizontal 1384, and vertical it should be 140. We have the heading for this one. We copy it, then we paste it. First we set the properties. That would be 41, 231, 1643, and 140. That is it. And we are going to type budget utilization. The next two visuals are the donut charts. One is project by status and the other one is project by priority. So first I'm going to create the donut charts, and again we are going to put the heading just like we did it here in a separate text box. So the first thing is we bring in a donut chart and we bring in the number of projects. The legend would be project status, so we can see project status, dim project status, this one. Then we are going to make the legend center left, and slices we are going to put some color coding according to the status. So let's say if it's completed, we should have it something like light blue, overdue purple is fine, in progress dark blue, and not started red is fine. The spacing I would suggest to make it around 80. That looks really clean. And then we are going to keep the data labels, but we are first going to go to the percent of total and reduce the display units to none and decimal places to 0. And then we go to the data value. This is fine. Now we want to show data value and percentage. So now you can see that the data value and the percentage, they are without decimal. For the legend, one more thing that we have to do is to remove the title, and we have to remove the overall title, turn it off, and we have to remove the background. I need to check the background here. Yeah, we need to turn it off as well. Now the position, it would be 256, 460, 325, and 396. So this one is done. Copy, paste. Let me set this thing first. 256, 437. Horizontal is 888 and 396. Yeah. And then what we have to do here is we have to count the projects, but by priority. So we will check the priority here. We will have to see how we can adjust the slices. So the color, medium should be dark blue, high is purple, low is light blue, and then this is the one. So this looks fine. We are going to sort the axes by priority. So we have the critical first. How we are going to do that? We click on priority, sort column by the key, and now we can make it one more time. There's one more thing that we need to do in this visual is arranging the legend. So we are going to go back to the project status, click here, sort column by key, and then we are going to sort the axis by ascending order, so not started. So that looks better. And now we have to put in the text box. Again, two text boxes. One is projects by status, and it's going to be Arial 14 bold, and the font color should be somewhere like this. The properties would be that we do not want any kind of background here, and then we go here. The height should be 55, the width should be 460, it should be horizontal 325, and then we put 356. Similarly, you're going to copy paste it, and this one would be projects by priority, and the properties would be 865 and 356. Now we are going to create two bar charts. One is the budget utilization by project type, and the second one is the number of under budget and the over budget projects, and that is also by project types. So what we are going to do here is we are going to bring in a bar chart. We can use the clustered bar chart, and then we are going to bring the project type, that is this, and then the budget utilization, which is here. Let's start with the properties. The general properties, we set the height to 307, that should be 460. Horizontal, it can be 325, and then it should be 736. Okay, so this one is done, and the title should be off, effect should be off. Now we are going to play with the visual. Y-axis remains on, but the title goes off. X-axis, we are going to remove it altogether, and the title as well. Then we are going to remove the grid lines. That is already removed with the axis. And we are going to put the data labels outside. We are going to tell them always position them on the outside end. And the bars, they should be separated. Bars should be separated by 60%. That is it. So it looks very nice, neat and clean. Next, we are going to create a similar bar chart. So we are going to Control C, Control V, copy paste it, and set the effects are already off. We are going to set the dimensions first, and that is going to be height of 307. This is fine. This is 863, and this is going to be 736. Yeah. And then what we are going to do is to bring in the number of projects instead of total budget utilization. So number of projects, there we go. And now we have to bring in the legend. The legend has to be whether the budget is overrun or not. And here there's a tricky part. Why? Because if we look at the fact project and we remove all the filters, yeah, so if we look at the fact project, here we are checking the under budget or over budget only by the task, not by the project itself. So we need another table, and that was basically this budget analysis. Now this budget analysis, it needs to have one more column, and that is the under budget or the over budget. So let's create those two columns first, and then we'll go back to the visual. So new column, would be budget remaining, and remember this is for the whole project itself. That is total budget minus total cost. That's budget remaining. And then we create another column. We call it budget overrun, but this time it's a project. The previous budget overrun column that was in the other table, that is for the task. Okay, so if total cost is greater than the total budget, then it's over budget, otherwise it's under budget. And that is it. So we go back and then we bring in the budget overrun in our legend. It has to be stacked bar chart. So now we need to set the colors. So we go to the bars, we go to over budget and we set the color to this. Under budget, we'll go with the same blue. What else do we need to do is we need to set the legend. So we go to the legend, we remove the title of the legend, we put it to the top right, and then we are going to arrange the axis, and then we are going to sort the legend descending. So we have over budget on the right hand side. We also want to show the total values, so data labels, total labels on. That's it. One more thing I want to see in this is the color should be this one. Yeah, I like this one. And then here also. Again, it's up to you, whatever you want to select, but this is the color that I like. And now let's copy this, paste it, bring it here. We are going to say budget utilization by project type. The position would be 55, 460, 325 and 690. You copy this, paste it, and then this has to be 55, 472. Horizontal, it will be 853 and it will be 691. And we are going to write it like number of under budget and over budget projects. Yeah, so this one is also done. The next visual that we have to build is the locations with uncompleted tasks, and that has to be shown on a map, and that map is called the shape map visual. Now for that purpose we have to enable that map. How we are going to do it is we go to File, Options and Settings, Options, we go to Preview Features, and then we have to enable the shape map visual from here. I've done this before I started making the report. However, if this is unchecked, you have to check it, shape map visual. After that, you will see that this shape map visual appears in the report. By default, it does not appear. So we bring in the shape map visual and we have to bring in the location and the number of tasks. So we go to data, we go to location. This is the location, but first we have to set it to states, state of province. We bring in this location. Here you can see that the colors have started to appear, and then we have to go and check number of tasks. This is the one. Okay, so now this is there. We need to set the properties, and for that we are going to use 481. Horizontal, it should be 1392 and then 396. There you go. So now it's fitting our box. We have to remove the title, we have to remove the background color. Now we have to fill in the colors. For these colors, we have to check light blue. I think this one looks better. So this can create more impact. And the blank areas, I would suggest we can simply make them white. Okay. The border, I would keep it very light so that it just gives the effect of being there. However, it does not impact our view. The last thing that we have to do is we have to set the filters, because we just need to see the uncompleted tasks. That means that we need to see task status. Let's see, status. And if we go to dim task status, that has to be all of them except the completed ones. So now we have got this one. That looks great. The last thing that we need to do is to set the title, and we are going to bring this here. We will set the properties, and the properties would be 55,481, and the horizontal position 1396, and the vertical position would be 355. There you go. And we have to say locations with uncompleted tasks. Delete this. This visual is ready now. The last visual that we have to create for this page is the project managers, and we are going to build it using the table. We bring in the table, and then the data has to be brought in. We'll start with the project manager. So project manager would be assignee, assigned to, that's the name. Yeah, we've got the names. Then we need to see the overdue tasks. So we want to show the overdue tasks as well as the number of tasks. In fact, number of projects and the overdue projects, sorry. So we are going to look at the number of projects. Let's bring in those projects first. And then we are going to bring in the task completion rate as well as the budget utilization. One more thing that we need to bring is the number of overdue projects, because we need to understand which project manager is having a lot of overdue projects. For that, we need to create a measure, and the measure has to be created here. New measure. We will set it as total overdue projects equal to calculate distinct count the project ID from the fact project table. What do we need to count? Where the dim underscore status or project status, to say it like that, is equal to overdue. Yeah, and then we close the brackets. There it is, total overdue projects, and then we bring this as well. The way it has to be is we will rename it to project manager. Then we have the number of projects, so we will just call it projects, and we are going to say overdue. So overdue projects or overdue should be fine, and this comes before the projects. Task completion, that is perfectly fine, and total budget utilization in percent, we can remove this percent just to keep it very short. Now this is done, but we have a few adjustments to make, because we need to bring in the photos of the project managers, which are going to come in from this table. Where is it? From this table, which is dim assignee. We have got these links, so we are going to use these links. But before doing that, we are going to set the properties so that everything is adjusted. 481, 1392, and this is going to be 746. So this thing is done, and then we have to make sure that the values are also like this, white. There shouldn't be any grid lines. We do not have to show the totals, so we'll turn the totals off. And yeah, that's it, the image size. And now we are going to bring in this link. So we just bring it up here. What we see here is this link, but what we need to do is we have to select its data category and image URL. There you go, you have the photos now. Now what we have to do is to set the image size. We go back to the properties, image size, and this has to be smaller, but both should be equal because this is the way we have set up our images. One thing is that still it doesn't look very good. We need to do some kind of padding. So we go to the grid and we have to set the padding. The row padding should be 8, just to give it a very nice clean look. And we have to make the column headers with gray color or any color that you want. I would prefer a light color, so we go to the column headers and we're going to choose some very light color just to give it a very light, decent look. And we are going to remove this. Okay, or maybe just rename for this. We should just give it a space like this. And task completion, we can make it like that. And total budget utilization, we can also decrease it so that it just comes in the frame. For task completion, we are going to show the data bars. So we go there, turn it on, and we can set the color very light so that we can see the values. And then the last step is we have to copy this visual here, and again we just set it to 55,481. This should be 1395 and this should be 693, and we call it project managers. That's it. This visual is also complete. The next visual that we are going to create is the text box here, which gives us a few important notifications. What we are going to do is to bring in the text box and bring it here, or let's set its dimensions 210, width is 228, horizontal 55 and 712. There you go. And we are going to remove the background color. Then let's start writing. So need your attention. This is the heading. It's white. And set the size to 11. It's a little bit bigger like this. And now we have to put some of the points, for example, and now we have to create some measures that we are going to show here. How we are going to do that? We go to data and we are going to create a measure. Let's say the most overdue project. So most overdue project underscore name. So I've pasted the code that I've written before, but it's very simple. Here what we are doing is that we are first taking the overdue projects by going to the fact project table, and then we are looking at the project status calculated equal to 4. So this gives us a filter table which has only the overdue projects. Then we look at the overdue duration. What we do is that we add the columns to the overdue projects and we call it overdue days. We take the date difference between the project planned completion and today's date. That means it was planned to be completed in the past. That's why it is delayed and it has not been completed yet, right? So that's why we have this difference between today's date and the project planned completion. So this value is put in the overdue days. Now the most overdue project would be the first non-blank value of this table that we have created, which has the project name and the date difference. So after doing all of this, we simply go to this point where we have this dim project name. This is the name column in dim assignee. That shouldn't be assignee, sorry. It should be dim project and dim project name, project ID, most overdue project. And that is it. Okay, it's giving us error, project planned completion. Let's have a look. We have to go to fact project. Okay, so it's giving me error, and I have checked what I have done here. The mistake is in the transform data. Let me bring this here. And if I go to the end date, this date is wrong. Why? Because in the grouped rows, I have to change it. I have to get the project end date, and maximum I have to get it from the planned completion date, because that is something from where we want to get the planned completion date, right? So once we do this, now we have this planned completion date. If this planned completion date is the maximum date is less than today's date, then it's going to be the overdue project. Yeah. And this should be project planned completion. Planned completion. This is it. Now when I go back to fact project and I will see a question mark here, what I need to do is to go back where I merge the queries here. Yeah. And if I open this, I need to see the project plan completion, right? So once I open this, it should be project plan completion. Insert it. It should be fine. I need to rename the column to project planned completion. This is it. We can insert it. Then remove this. Yep. Remove this. And we can add the custom here. Okay. So now this is fine. We've got the project planned completion. We've got the project overdue, and we have got the project start date as well. These are the three columns that we need. Close. Now this works. The second measure that we have to create is the measure for the value. It's the same like we did before, but this time we are taking the duration. And once we press enter, we are going to get the overdue project value. Before we move on, what we can do is we can bring these two in a summary box folder so that they look cleaner. So what I would name it as 00 underscore summary box. You can name whatever you want. So I'm going to make it like this, and the project overdue value as well, overdue project value as well. Both of them, these are in the summary box. The third value that we are going to create is the project manager with the most pending tasks, and that is also I'm going to paste, and I will provide this in a separate text file. Again, we are doing the same thing that we are filtering the fact project table. We are counting the pending tasks. We are then getting the maximum tasks and so on. So this should be fine. Let's press enter. This goes well. And then we have to get the value. Again, the same method. And I'm going to write it here. We get the tasks, and that is it. And let's put the values here. So that is going to be most overdue project name. Save. We can say that is the most overdue project as, and it has been delayed for. Then we have to enter the number of days value. So we can say most overdue most overdue, project value, that is 259, yeah, and days. Okay, just bear with me, I'll set the formatting later on. Now we have to write the name of the PM with most pending tasks, that's the name, and might need assistance. We'll just put a friendly message here, as they have PM with most pending task values, yeah, tasks pending, yeah. And now we are going to color all of them as white, increase the font size to 11, and what I'm going to do is to highlight the values of the measures with a nice different colors so that it is more evident. This one, let's say it's bold, yeah, and this one bold, this, and bold this. Okay, sweet. So except the buttons and the titles, our first page is done. We'll move on to the next page now. Once we are finished with all of the data stuff, then we will start putting the buttons and the titles.